Jesse Watson.
Now then, my last video was what they might call pre-fight hype. I made it as I was preparing to face Thor, as he hurled Hurricane Eunice my way. I reckoned if I could get inside the old lad's head, undermine his confidence some, I'd have half the battle won. Brains over brawn, as they say. After all, I'm only a wee fella. Well, in case you're wondering how that battle played out, here's the truth of it. Come the night of the big fight, Thor came rushing up the valley at a hell of a rate of knots to meet me. He was sure of himself as always. However, being as he was howling like a banshee on heat, I heard him coming, see? That was his first mistake. He didn't stop to think his fight plan through. Like many before him, he underestimated me. So I took it upon myself to teach him the error of his ways. On hearing his roar approaching, I jumped up from beside my stove and braced myself against front at tent, just the very same instant that ruddy great hammer of his slammed full force against my door. My door, though, held fast afore him, for I'd braced it behind with green hazel, so, though it bent, it would not break. It's all about flexibility, see? Oh, rest assured, I'm no stranger to Bruce Lee. Lo, Thor went to that door then like he were pounding pig iron for Stalin himself. It was one hell of a racket he made. I'll give the old lad that at least. I held firm, let him tire himself out. A bit of the old rope-a-dope, as they might say. When at last he had about ran out of breath and my door was about ready to cave in, I bellows to him over all the din he were making. "Here, Thor! I've seen bairns pass wind with more power than thee can muster. Has thee now more to offer, or are you all bluster?" Well, as he might expect, that took the wind out of his sails some. He let up with his hammering then and started rushing round and round me tent, whining through the gaps in walls as he went, saying that no mortal man had the right to speak to him as I had done, for he was Odin's true-born son. So he said he'd make me pay for my impudence. Well, that's what he reckoned anyhow. I say, Vikings of today, make no mistake, they've fragile egos on them. That's what tattoos and steroids win you. You're on a hiding to nowhere if you think I'll be paying for out, old lad. I've not got 2 shekels to rub together, I yells back to him. Since Thor's frustration had clearly got the better of him, I felt the time was ripe for me to make my move. That being so, I whipped the door open and stepped outside just as he came hurtling around to meet me. Fair to say, my sudden appearance was the last thing Thor was expecting, and he came skittering to a halt before me, leaving 2 brown skid marks in the turf behind him. A fury rose up inside me, for it was the very same turf I'd carefully preserved right through the winter. If there's one thing I will not tolerate, it's clumsy beggars leaving my home turf all plathered up with mud. I looks him up and down as he towered above, and gave him a smile. As I'd suspected, the steroids had had an adverse effect on his masculinity, and so I looks him in the eye and I says to him, all chipper-like, "Oh, big odds, Thor! Thou is't a hefty fella. Tell me, do you get them big old nips from the mother's side of the family?" To drive the wedge home, I reaches up and gives one of the big brutes a tweak.
How dare you!
He thundered, but I saw tears welling up in his eyes all the same. So I knew at once that I'd dealt a terrible blow to his foolish pride. "Now you listen here, you great clumsy oaf," I says, looking up his nose. "I may be mortal, that's for sure, but be ye big or small, I'll speak my mind, for I've nowt left to lose." Odin's son had no reply. His shoulders sank, his head bowed low, and the mighty Thor turned tail, and so flit back up valley whence he'd came. Fair to say, even he was wise enough to know only a fool goes toe to toe with one who has naught to lose. Half an hour later, far over London way, he took the roof off the O2 Arena. Make of that what you will, but I, for one, wasn't best impressed with that old lad's demeanour. So that, good viewer, was the last I saw of Thor, and now you know the truth of it. If you enjoyed this yarn, you can subscribe by clicking on the round logo here, and here's some of my other videos for you to take a squint at. Please do leave a like or a comment, I'd be much obliged. I'll be seeing you soon, folks. Until then, stay dangerous.